Wizard101 was both an escapist fantasy for millions of children worldwide, and the bane of their parents' credit card. Released in 2008, Wizard101 is an MMORPG where you pick an element and do wizard things like cast spells, ponder orbs, and navigate via piss arrows. But is this an actually good game, or am I being blindsided by nostalgia? After who knows how long, I logged into my account made back in Jesus Christ to find the answer.
Burial grounds ain't nothing to hex with witches. Step aside, let a necromancer get a chance to describe a wicked plan for some regicide. Wizards recognize when a masterful caster can conjure fires of desire in a bad witch's eyes. But their minions ain't nothing but witches and bones. A spell slinging ain't by me, towers and tomes. And when the kingdom says I gotta pay apprentice loans to get a permit full of potions that I brew on my own.
In the main menu, I was greeted by my childhood character, Katie Raventail, a level 45 pyromancer, but this isn't about her, I want to start from scratch. When creating a wizard, you can choose to take a personality quiz to pick your element, and I vividly remember doing this as a child. This is how I wound up with the fire element. Now, as a 23-year-old struggling to maintain consistent employment, I took the quiz again, and still got fire. Some things never change. After settling on an appearance, it's time to pick a name. Since this is a children's game, it limits naming options to a pre-selected list. While scrolling, I found the name Uma, like the Japanese word for horse. Why is this important? The world of Autismlandia is divided into 4 major nations: the Train Nation, Car Nation, Dinosaur Nation, and Horse Nation. As a child, I was part of the Dinosaur Nation, but immigrated to horse autism in my adult years. Now I possess a dual citizenship in both, but this essentially means that if I see a horse, or hear the word horse, I get an intense, visceral reaction. As a result, my wizard ended up being named Uma. Just Uma. Her name is Horse. Of course, Uma is an actual given name, but it's funnier imagining it just means horse. Uma, the apprentice pyromancer, loads into the starting area, and I immediately notice the art style difference. It's honestly quite nice, yet I still revert to classic visual assets. To be clear, I am not a old good, new bad type of person at all, but the rustic, colourful fantasy graphics appeal to me. It's reminiscent of the art style in the first 2 Skylanders games. Would you guys watch a Skylanders Giants video? Genuinely asking, because I just came up with a really hilarious idea for one. The quest design is expected for an MMO, where you kill X amount of enemies and interact with the thing X times, go grab this, is not the most riveting gameplay, to be frank. Wizard101 is a turn-based deck builder that starts off incredibly simple. Each school of magic has its own gameplay specialization. The life school focuses on healing but has low damage output, while Storm has the highest damage in the game, but poor defenses and casting accuracy. This means they may fail their spells quite often. Ice magic is the tankiest, but not as support focused as life. Death is all about health stealing, where you deal damage and partially heal yourself in turn. Myth focuses on summons and balance. They're basically a support until endgame, in which they suddenly become a god. Finally, there's fire magic, which starts off really strong at low levels and remains consistent throughout your playthrough. While it doesn't deal as much damage as Storm, it has higher defenses and accuracy, allowing for easier solo play. Good, because I don't have friends. Most notably is the emphasis on damage over time spells. The Fire Elf spell deals insane total damage for its pip cost and the level you get it. Now in the commons, this is basically the main hub, and I immediately see a small group of players complaining about someone's ex. Everyone including me just sat there and watched the drama unfold. Once the friend group stopped arguing, I got bored and walked off. Frankly, the tea was lukewarm at best. You often see these YouTubers online who can reach out to people instantly and form connections. I am not one of them. Just going up and talking to others isn't something I can do, but it would be nice to make some friends here. So what exactly is my goal in Wizard101? Back when I used to play, the max level was only 60, I think. It's more than double that now. There was also only one arc consisting of the first 5 realms, but I never got to finish it. There are now like 22 different worlds, and I am not doing all that. My major goal is to actually finish the main story this time, as in the first arc, where you defeat Malistaire. In addition to that, there's a secondary goal in mind. As a fire wizard, you can unlock the Fire Dragon spell at level 48. I wanted this so bad back then, as someone who was and still is obsessed with dragons. Don't even know if it's a good spell, I just think it looks cool. These 2 goals are basically my attempt to make up for my unfulfilled childhood dreams. And who knows, maybe this game is actually a banger and I'll want to complete all the other content. All my my goodness, how could I forget? We need to check out the microtransactions. Wizard101's monetization model predates the Mesozoic era, so while downloading may be free, a membership is required to access basic areas for story progression. If you intend on getting anywhere, consider memberships baked into the inherent cost of the game. You can also buy crowns as a premium currency to purchase mounts, pets, and other items. This whole time, I've been walking on my own 2 feet like a normie-ass peasant. There are lion mounts, dragons, dinosaurs, fucking cars. Is my wizard even old enough to drive? But I'm sure you can predict which one caught my eye first. Yes, it was a horse. Not a unicorn, not a Pegasus, the most normal, mundane horse you've ever seen. Uma was now riding an Uma. I hate to say it, but this microtransaction brought me genuine joy. Galloping around on my cute little horse, admiring his coat. I was unbelievably happy. What a simple creature I am. The first world, Wizard City, has a bunch of areas themed around all the different elements. There's Firecat Alley, Trident Avenue, and the infamous Cyclops Lane. Cyclops Lane is the first area the game will make you buy a membership to enter. Since I already bought one, I could proceed through fine, but as a child, Cyclops Lane hard stopped me in my tracks until I convinced my parents to cast the ultimate spell, Pay with PayPal. Wizard101 microtransactions made up a large chunk of my Christmas and birthday presents back then, along with Skylanders figures. Skylanders Tub Tour. This is my most valuable Skylander, like, monetary-wise. So this is Blackout. He didn't get an awful lot of stock, but I bought him day one back in 2014. I remember getting my dad to take me to Big W and pick him up, because he looks sick as fuck. Like, look at this guy. Of course I wanted him as, like, how old was I? I would have been 12. Show off my Skylanders for no fucking reason. Oh, feet. This section of the game is not hard at all. If anything, simply following the quest marker was kind of boring, and combat wasn't interesting enough to keep me engaged either. There were a few boss fights against fire enemies which forced me to use a bit of my brain, however. As a child, I couldn't comprehend what prism spells did, but they basically turn a resistance into a weakness. This boss resists my fire spells, but with a prism it converts it to ice damage, which it's weak to. These starter fights let me peer into what was potentially a highly complex turn-based system, but it seems the game would gatekeep me from that for quite some time. You know how in Pokemon and other kids games you're like this 10-year-old who does all the hard work while everyone else just sits around digging in their butt? Wizard101 is exactly that. But in Pokemon, an evil criminal mastermind will give up just because a 10-year-old beat up their pets, while in Wiz, the bad guys be summoning Lucifer's dog to incinerate a child. Perhaps death is a valid escape from student loans. The other areas in Wizard City consisted of Colossus Boulevard, Haunted Cave, and some additional optional areas. Once most were cleared, I was up against Lord Nightshade, the final boss of the realm. He was very easy, mostly because he's stupid. He kept spending his pips on really weak spells instead of saving for stronger ones. This let me tank his attacks and safely buff before whittling him down with damage over time. Then, a final nuke from Sunbird. Wizard City was now complete, and we gained access to the second realm, Crocotopia, which I hadn't set foot in over a decade. When I first arrived in Crocotopia, it was deserted of players, pun intended, but upon reaching peak hours, the population got way higher than anticipated. The fact that Wizard101 is still alive after all these years is kind of insane, especially since other online games from my childhood vanished off the face of the earth.
Oh, Horns, you're so sweet. Like a manly sweet. Ah, feeling good. Let's just get a high five. Come on.
Just being able to return to this game in adulthood and attempt to complete it this time around is pretty amazing. Since I've been rushing the main quest lately, I went back to wrap up a few loose ends in Wizard City. One of them was to defeat this rather powerful boss for the Halloween event, and another player happened to be loitering outside the tower. They were a death wizard, and the boss was resistant to that element, so I believe they were waiting for help. This was a golden opportunity to impress a poor gamer in need, but I ended up fizzling 2 spells in a row. And don't worry, I figured out how to disable filtered chat later on. Since I dealt neutral damage, I focused on hitting while the death wizard ate up a whole bunch of attacks. We managed to take him down pretty easily, and the guy sent me a friend request. I did it. I made a friend. Back in Crocotopia, it's time to take down a whole bunch of bosses. For a few fights, some randos tag along, and this Storm Wizard carries the fuck out of me through my first dungeon. As is expected of a turn-based game, going first or second can put you at a great advantage or disadvantage. When you go first, you can set up shields straight away, or if your health gets low, heal up to tank the oncoming damage from the enemy's turn. When going second, however, the way you play changes quite drastically. You have to heal a turn early, predicting when enemies will attack by looking at their pips, because because you still need to eat up attacks first before you can heal. Some card games give the player who went second additional buffs to compensate for this inherent disadvantage, but Wizard101 is nothing of the sort as far as I'm aware. Going second and fizzle chances all contribute to the RNG factor of combat. There have been multiple times where if I didn't fail my cast, I would have won a fight. As you get stronger, you can increase your accuracy, mitigating this issue entirely, but fizzles are a common threat for low-level players. Once a fire wizard hits legal adult age, they earn the right to learn the Heckhound spell. That name is just as funny 15 years later. This is another damage over time attack, but it scales off your total pips. Against bosses with lots of health that can't be burst down, the Heckhound really shines, otherwise I rely on this clanker for single hit damage. Crocotopia is chock-a-block with dungeons, and I was kind of amazed how often I matched with other players, sometimes even instantly. I saw a storm wizard loitering outside this dungeon. Using the jump button, we telepathically communicated and entered together. It's a little embarrassing being a fire wizard next to a storm, because their burst damage far outclasses mine. With Heckhound, I can do more damage overall, but storms do more damage much faster. Their fizzle rates are higher, however. We parted ways after the dungeon, but accidentally reunited during future quests, so I tagged along to get it over with faster. Level 22 is a great time for fire wizards, as it's when we unlock Meteor Strike, our first AoE spell. Fire is one of the earliest elements in the game to get an AoE, which made clearing out dungeons significantly easier. The final boss of Crocotopia is Crocopatra. Do you understand the naming schemes now? I was partnered with a life wizard and thought, why not make the most of this? One of the spells I unlocked was Immolation, in which I deal 200 damage to myself and 600 to a single enemy. The proper way to use this spell is to put up shields to reduce the damage dealt to you, and buffs or traps to boost the damage to the enemy. Since my partner was a support, why bother with shields? She can just heal me. She was a little strange, however, because despite being a life wizard, she seemed more interested in removing the life from our enemies. Thanks to Immolation and my very violent healer, we quickly mowed through the enemies and even Crocopatra herself. This marked the end of Crocotopia, so we were now in the third realm, England. Like Crocotopia, it's been more than a decade since I've been to Marleybone. I'd say it's the middle child of the first 5 major realms. Along with being on the shorter side, its departure from the prior whimsical fantasy vibes makes it a pretty strange area in general. Despite that, Wizard101 possesses strong and consistent art direction. You often see simplistic doodles scattered throughout the user interface, or full spread paintings that capture the charm of each realm within a single image. The game looks dated by today's standards, but the poorer texture quality creates stronger contrast, especially with grass and brickwork. The newer assets are higher resolution and a lot cleaner, but certain textures like grass are actually lacking in detail compared to the classic assets. Marleybone may not feel as fantasy as the previous 2 areas, but it leans even further into the other aspects of Wizard101's identity, that being comedy, parody, and wordplay. The cat burglars are performing nefarious acts that the police dogs attempt to thwart, but this is Wizard101, so it's actually a random 10-year-old crippled with thousands in student debt doing all the hard work. A rather important mechanic is pets, which I've been neglecting this whole time so far, not because I want to, but because I'm too broke to engage with it properly. Pets are like another piece of equipment, but they can be customized to your liking, whether that be applying certain perks or casting a spell. The breeding mechanics are far too complex for a children's game, and they've changed a lot since I last played. As a fire wizard, the best PvE pets were the ornery Kookaburra or Sun Serpent. They came with a fire blade and some other good spells at later growth stages. My starter pet Meatball was an adult just from questing, which meant I could take him to the hatching kiosk and find another player's Kookaburra to mate him with. Except that costs 1/3 of the money cap. Looks like pet breeding isn't something I'll be engaging with just yet. Since my character is called Uma and she is riding an Uma, then I need to get a pet that's also an Uma. At the starter pet store, you can buy a unicorn. Stat-wise, it's complete dog shit, but that doesn't really matter. While picking a name, Trixie pops up. Like that unicorn character from My Little Pony. She's the one that enslaves an entire town, then develops a homoerotic relationship with a cult leader. They were literally made for each other.
Well, not exactly straight, Starlight.
It's a fucking lesbian.
Growing up with My Little Pony was such a strange experience, since the fandom consisted entirely of sweaty neckbeards. Guys, okay, it's nearly midnight, and I'm editing, and I was looking for footage to use for that My Little Pony tangent I go on or whatever, and I found this.
Wings are so, see-through. I'm so glad I'm a pony. Are you like bugs or what?
That escalates so fucking much. When I saw this for the first time, I laughed so hard I nearly threw up. We've now got Uma with her pet Uma riding an Uma, and I continue grinding my way through Marleybone until hitting level 30. It is time. We've now gained access to Mount Olympus. Do not let any furry-inclined people you know inside. That's like taking Shadow to Mexico. The best equipment for my level can be farmed here. Getting a full set of Zeus armor means I won't have to worry about my gear until level 60, which should easily take me to the end of the main story's first arc. This dungeon haunted my quest log endlessly as a child, since I never knew how to beat it, leaving the entry to just rot there forever. Since I'd be farming with others, I did some research beforehand, learning the mechanics to avoid burdening my teammates too much. The first few runs were very anticlimactic, since a single level 170 wizard would join and just one-shot everything. I'm not complaining, since I had terrible luck with drops, and was getting armor for every school except fire. At the very least, I can use this armor on other characters if I end up making any. Getting carried by high-level players was great for farming, but there was nothing I could do about my poor luck. During the runs, I would see high-level fire wizards cast the dragon spell. As I said earlier, unlocking it was one of my main goals, yet I was also reminded of how jealous I'd get seeing other people cast it as a child. We're still quite a ways off from unlocking it, but I promised to get it soon to make childhood me happy. Eventually, the stronger players weren't queuing anymore, and I matched with wizards around my level. This meant I could actually play the dungeon properly. It was loads of fun now that we could interact with not just the mechanics, but each other too. The funny thing about Zeus is that he isn't of the storm element, but myth, and the myth school is weak to storm, so Zeus in Wizard101 takes bonus damage from lightning attacks. I bet the devs did that on purpose. With this, it feels like I've properly cleared Mount Olympus, overcoming a challenge that childhood me couldn't. I continued farming and farming, determined to get a full set of Zeus fire armor, but even after a full day passed, there wasn't a single bit of equipment to my name. I had full Zeus armor for other elements completed before getting one fire piece at all. We were reaching legendarily bad levels of RNG. During one of the runs, I was matched with these high level players. They were talking about a secret boss and kindly waited while I checked if I had that quest or not. We entered the boss room, in which I bore witness to horrors beyond my years. Guys, why does he have 24,000 health? It was like a young cadet being dragged through the trenches by war-scarred veterans. Within 2 turns, I was dead, but the respawn mechanic is pretty lenient in this game. One of the players then deals more than double the boss's health in a single hit. These spells I'm seeing high-level wizards use were not around when I was a kid, and some of the animations are really unhinged. I would say, out of any RPG I've played, the gap felt between high and low level players is most defined in Wizard101. What I mean is that while I can summon a Hellhound or a Phoenix, these other players are summoning actual fucking Cthulhu itself. As a child, being around high level players made you feel small and insignificant, so I'm impressed that feeling has only grown stronger as the game's gone on. The first run of the day seemed normal at first with the high level carry, but I noticed that one player didn't seem to understand the dungeon, so I offered to group up and walk her through it. I explained some basic strats used to save time walking, tell her the boss mechanics, show her where to find all the bronze statues, everything she'd need to know to run the dungeon efficiently with other players. Despite being over level 100, she'd simply never gone through Mount Olympus before, but her spells easily carry me through all combat encounters. Clearly I've accumulated some degree of good karma, because once we beat Zeus, I'm rewarded with my first ever fire drop. That's 1 out of 3 down. We go our separate ways afterwards, where I reunite with a fellow fire wizard I met yesterday. Kai, Dragonblade and I appear to be cursed. Each time we've matched together, everyone else immediately leaves. This is not an issue, however, because after combining our 2 fire wizard brain cells, we concoct a flawless strategy. Once we kill Zeus, my second fire piece drops immediately after the first. The next few runs weren't so lucky, however, so I try my best to keep entertained during the boring grind. An absolute freak made this spell. Like, what the fuck is this animation? Bro's like, oh my god, what if we had like a giant, fat, bulbous frog? And he just like threw up on all the children. I was barely hanging on. On the third day I met Talon. At first I thought they were just another mid-level carry, but their interactions with the party were pretty amusing. Since I had the opportunity to bring it up, I tell Talon that their trip is immaculate, with a really cool bird theme and complementary colour scheme. In regards to their response, at most I expected a "Aw, thank you," or "Wow, thank you so much." Instead, it was, "Thank you, oh my god, thank you, I draw him too, he's so important to me." Do you know what I've just done? This isn't just a simple Wizard101 character, this is an OC, an original character. I just complimented somebody's OC, which is the ultimate ritual of friendship for the chronically online. We were now soul-bound wizardlings, and continued farming Zeus for a good while. It's unfortunate that the myth score is just 1/4 gross. This is what I was saying about the hanging phone. Like, the potential is amazing until something. What if Frog threw up? Frog is beautiful. Smash. Glorious that myth is powered by imagination. I'm imagining puke frog. Why is the frog looking at me like that in the bottom left? He's my little freak. Please be fire. It's balance. I got 2 new pair of Nikes, but they're fire and storm. After we finished our run, which was yet again unsuccessful, Talon invited me to an episode of MTV Cribs. They showed me around their house, which was very cute with a consistent aesthetic. In case you hadn't figured it out already, Talon loves birds, so we started talking about birds. The rest of the day was spent farming Zeus more, even long after Talon went to bed. You know, I was actually joking when I said I'd get the achievement before completing the set. I should have been more excited about getting this achievement, but there was something I wasn't aware of at the time. For now, I tested out the new spell it gave me, but it was definitely better suited for PvP, so chances are I won't get as much use out of it. Back to the grind, I match with this high level player, efficiently chaining runs until another person tells me something very important. There it is, great. I love you. I helped the group with one last run before officially declaring the Zeus grind complete. While overall not the best experience, I met some really cool people over the last few days thanks to this dungeon. This is when I was beginning to realise that compared to a single player RPG, Wizard101 cultivates a feeling of adventure not through quests and exploration, but your interactions with other players. For the rest of the night, I get my character tripped out. Wizard101's transmog system isn't great. You have to spend a small crown fee to transfer the appearance of one item to another, and it costs another 100 crowns to undo it. It's not very consumer friendly. In a moment of weakness and late night deliriousness, I do a little bit of gambling, got some cool shoes, and a bunch of other probably useful stuff, but was too tired to care at that moment. While mulling over what trip to wear, I go back to my childhood character and send a bunch of her items over. One of them was the Armor of Many Winters. No idea how I got it, but according to the wiki, you can possibly get it from the Raven Horde pack, which isn't available currently. It seems child me was also a bit of a gambler too. This armor looks pretty cool, so I stitch it onto my Zeus chest piece. The shoes I got earlier conveniently match with it too, so I stitched that on, and then it's just the hat left. 99% of the head items in this game look like hot garbage, especially on female characters for some reason. Rather than bother with a hat, I use my remaining crowns to buy a hairstyle cosmetic to stitch on, and it's done. Uma is now drippy as hell. Did I spend money? Yes, definitely. Do I regret it? Only a little bit. Having a nice looking character is worth it for the most part. I do appreciate how she looks nothing like a wizard though. The next day, you'd think it's time to continue Marleybone, but I completely forgot about it in favour of Grizzleheim, where every month is Pride Month. As you cross the Rainbow Bridge, you'll meet an entire civilization of bears, Viking bears with aggressively American accents.
Hello there, little outlander. I sense a question is coming.
Grizzleheim is unlocked at level 20, so I'm a bit late, but this realm isn't required to be the main story. There are already a few minor worlds I've skipped over, but if I missed Grizzleheim, I feel like people would yell at me. While questing, I hit level 33, unlocking the Phoenix spell. This is another single target attack like Immolation, but doesn't require health sacrifice to cast. I still keep Immolation in my deck though, I like how the burn in my asshole feels. Then I did some more gambling. It's fine, I can literally stop whenever I want. After 4 packs, I got the Bookworm mount, which might be good odds, not sure. It's very cool looking and I love the pun, but it's very strange not using my horse. perhaps I'll use it another time. Back in Grizzleheim, I'm in the middle of a dungeon when Talon shoots me a message, complimenting my fit. Then they suddenly teleport over and we start casually chatting as meteors rain down from the sky. They're still grinding Zeus, so we do a couple of runs together in comfortable silence. Once that's over, it's Grizzleheim once more. This world is boring. There's so much backtracking even after placing a marker at the quest NPC and using the teleport hub. Every realm has some degree of backtracking of course, but it's particularly bad in Grizzleheim. After completing the second arc, the third is quite above my level. Feeling confident, I go challenge it anyway. Let's go back to Marleybone. With only a few dungeons left before the realm's complete, Uma comes face to face with a Clanker. However, I installed Ark Survival Ascended onto the Clanker's hard drive. Now we just have to boot up the game. The final boss seems intimidating at first, but goes down easily. A meteor to kill off the weakest mob and deal some damage to everyone, a phoenix to finish off the wraith, then immolation on the big man himself seals the deal. That's 3 out of the 5 realms complete. Before moving on to the 4th, I decide to buy a house, having grown sick of my shitty college dorm. Wizard101 is full of insanely huge and elaborate houses. Touring them was enough to put me off with all the excessive empty space you'd have to decorate. It's just too much. The wooded cottage felt like the perfect size and was super cheap too, so I started decorating with the furniture collected throughout questing. Accepting that this will be a long-term project, I decide to finally get around to 2 notable mechanics I've been ignoring this whole time: fishing and gardening. Any whizheads still watching have probably lost their minds over the fact that I haven't started doing these yet, but the truth is, I just don't care. Fishing and gardening in video games has always bored me, so I put it off for a good while. After figuring out how fishing works, however, I quickly realized that this is actually a little fun. Eagerly, I run around Wizard City and catch a whole bunch of fish, completing the first quest and ranking up my fishing level. Then it's on to gardening, where I plant seeds and yeah, that's about it. Crocatopia's Egypt, but with reptiles. Marleybone is England, but with cats and dogs. Grizzleheim is just a copy-paste of real-life Norway. So the 4th realm, Mushu, is Asia, but with farm animals, including horses, but they look ugly. As far as Wiz is concerned, Asia consists solely of Japan and China, so imagine those countries but with cow puns. That's Mushu. Watch out, Nihonjin, White Girl is coming. This was the final world I reached as a child. The paywall, in addition to the game getting harder, brought my Wizard101 journey to a close back then. But the thing about being an adult is that you now have the opportunity to do things you couldn't as a child. In a way, Mushu is quite special to me for this reason. There are a lot of portals around, which makes questing a lot better. The music is also pretty great. At the end of a very long dungeon, Uma faces off against Katsumori, using fire prisms to bypass his resistances. He goes down quickly before addressing the elephant in the room. His second phase seemed easy at first, and I leisurely performed the usual buff setup until this happened. Well, if my next spell fizzles, I'm dead. Thankfully, it didn't, which kills him, leaving only his minions left. A lucky fizzle buys me another turn, so I cast a 0-pip attack spell to finish one off. The remaining baddie fizzles yet again. Ever since the Elephant attack, I quickly locked in, realizing that if I didn't play perfectly, I'd be dead. These lucky enemy fizzles were a godsend. Next turn, I'd get Meteor, so I pass and clench my butthole as the minion summons a blizzard. Yikes. If Meteor fizzles, I'm dead. But it didn't, because I never fail. Upon reaching level 42, I unlocked the Elephant spell myself. Lately, the fire school has moved away a bit from damage over time in favour of powerful hit spells, like their Storm School from Temu. This is a bit disappointing, but with later spells you can see fire finally returns to DOT. The rest of Mushu was a blur, my brain just wasn't switched on, running and teleporting between quests, destroying bosses. Before I knew it, I was already up to the final battle. The Jade Oni has a high health pool, letting me try and push Elephant's burst damage to its its limit. With no additional mobs, the boss goes down easily, and Mushu is complete. Clearing Mushu is a big deal. This marks the point where I've officially surpassed the progress made when I played as a kid. My childhood character was still in the middle of Mushu, so finally progressing further than that after all this time was surreal. It made me realize just how important beating this game was to me as a kid, and that sentiment had just been reawakened now as an adult. The final realm of the first arc, Dragonspire, is where we'll finally confront the main antagonist, Malistaire. His brother, Cyrus Drake, professor of the Myth School, challenges us to a duel to test our strength. I one-shot him. He takes us to Dragonspire to help take down Malistaire. Visually, Dragonspire varies greatly from the other worlds so far, with a striking colour scheme and giant set pieces. It reminds me of when Dagon invades the Imperial City in Oblivion, with all the destroyed buildings and hellish skies. The models of the Draconian enemies are honestly kind of fire, especially this dude posing with his sword. Kid me would have lost her mind if she saw this enemy. It still has me pretty excited as an adult. So I think the lore is that Dragonspire got murked by some evil dragons. We end up going back in time to try and thwart the big invasion, coming across General Firetusk on the way. Since he's a fire boss, I just equip my prisms and think nothing of it. But during the fight, he casts an ice shield. There's no point putting a prism on him if he just has 80% ice resistance anyway. After a bunch of setup, I summon Hellephant, in which they amusingly share the same model. Thinking my buffing will still make it deal a lot of damage, I proceed to get mogged by Firetusk's crazy resistances. Well, I'm kind of fucked now. I've already used up so many buffs and spells, leaving me vulnerable. Getting bored by a shark does me in, and I teleport back to the start more humble than before. We'll need to change a strategy. This time, I single target the Draconian to get him out of the fight. Usually you can safely set up a powerful meteor spell for AoE, but getting rid of the Draconian quickly will make the rest of the fight easier. As a storm element enemy, he shouldn't be underestimated, since his spells deal insanely high damage. With the Draconian gone, I can set up a lot safer now, putting on a prism and praying he doesn't cast an ice shield. Now it's time to conjure my Hellephant, and I think that was a little overkill. The next boss, Vasek Ash Weaver, was of the death element, so I discarded my prisms, performing the usual buff setup. Thing is, this guy is super tanky, and without an elemental weakness to exploit, my damage suffers. Vasek has access to some really high damage spells, so I've got to balance my buff rotation with healing and shielding just to stay alive. My health is dangerously low when I'm finally ready to cast Hellephant and finish him off. The thing with Wizard101 is that 99% of fights are not like this, at least in the first arc. Having never played beyond it, I can't say what combat's like in later worlds. The first arc is still a significant time sink however, even when skipping basically all dialogue. Wizard101's quest design is nothing but busy work, making you kill basic enemies, sometimes even implementing RNG drops for quest items so you have to waste more time farming. While there is a teleport system to help you get around a bit, it's clear that this is not a game that respects your time. It is an MMO after all. With most fights consisting of two basic enemies that you murk with the same buff AoE rotation, the gameplay is just not interesting a lot of the time. With how often you have to watch the same unskippable animations, it's gotten to the point that I will just watch YouTube or scroll Twitter so I can wait for these long ass spell cutscenes to end. Your first instinct might be to roast me for having a short attention span, but this is the only game I do this for. Nothing is on my second monitor when I'm locked into a game that keeps my attention by not wasting time with unnecessary fluff. A skip mechanic in a turn-based MMO I understand is basically impossible to implement, but if the animations were made shorter to compensate for that, this wouldn't be a problem. And yes, the AoE animations have been sped up in recent years. Back when I was a kid, spells like Meteor would strike each opponent individually, but now they hit all at once. What's most contradictory, however, is that I think if some of the animations were shortened now, it would make me and a lot of other people kind of sad, because they are cool, but if they were designed to be short from the start to compensate for how often you have to cast them, this wouldn't be a problem in the first place. Moving on, we report back to Cyrus Drake, who has a plan for defeating Malistaire. I've been pondering my humongo frog-shaped orb, and just conjured up the craziest prank. So like, my brother had a wife, yeah? I need you to go steal her soul. We go inside the tomb to find her, and confirm that Malistaire is a high-class freakazoid. With her soul in our possession, it's back to more snooze-fest gameplay until the next interesting thing happens. I hit level 48. This is when fire wizards receive the questline to earn the fire dragon spell. It's finally time to fulfill one of my core childhood desires. At first, they have you run around to some earlier worlds, killing powerful fire enemies and bosses to collect shards. Going back to these other worlds made me realize just how lonely Mushu and Dragonspire feel. This game is old, the player population is not going to be as high as it once was, but actually seeing other wizards around was really nice, especially since the last several hours in Mushu and Dragonspire have felt completely isolated. It didn't last long however, and after collecting all the shards, it was back to Dragonspire fire to retrieve a pendant to place them in. Now to take it to one of the towers to cool the dragon down. The boss guarding the tower is Mavra, who I already fought while progressing through the realm. Her mechanic is really stupid. She doesn't have much health, but these two pips constantly spam shields. The thing with shields in this game is that unless it came from a different spell, it will only apply once to each attack. While that does mean essentially every hit will be nerfed by the shield, it's only 50%. That's not really a big deal, as I just did my usual buff setup and got a single target spell to one-shot Mavra. The shields don't matter if you deal enough burst damage. That left just the pips, who don't attack, only cast shields. This let me safely buff and debuff until I could kill them. It's not a hard mechanic, just time consuming. With Mavra defeated, we use the pendant to summon the dragon.
Little mortal, you bring me the dragon saw and have shown yourself worthy. You have walked through fire without fear. I will take your offering and will aid you when summoned. Return to your teacher now to learn the spell of summoning.
And that's it. The spell I wanted most as a kid is at last mine. It only took 15 years. Child me would be overjoyed right now if she could see this. What makes the Fire Dragon spell so cool, aside from being a dragon, is that it represents complete mastery over your school. Fire magic was created by the dragon, so being able to invoke the progenitor of your element means quite a lot in terms of in-game lore. As for gameplay wise, I took my new spell to the next boss to test out how strong it is. You're joking, my first time trying to summon it and it fizzles. That fizzle ruined my childhood. Something I've been noticing is that during levels 30 to 50, damage over time spells have become less important for fire wizards, despite it being an important mechanic of our element, but the fire dragon deals massive AoE burst damage and applies damage over time to all enemies. As expected of the creator, it embodies the core identity of fire magic. With our new spell, Uma is able to plow through Dragonspire. Once we hit level 50, I unlock fire pips, which are basically the same as the piss-coloured ones from before, except they let me use certain spells unique to fire wizards. I don't have any right now, but it's still cool. My backpack soon overflowed from questing, so I went back home to manage my items and do some gardening. While selling, I got enough gold to purchase the Red Barn player house, which gives a passive gardening bonus, making it basically the best house in the game. My horse looks right at home in this property. If I knew saving up for Red Barn would take so little time, I'd have put off gardening and just waited. The main quest has us going to boss rooms to collect staff pieces from obsidian chests, in which you can just walk around behind the enemies and loot the chests without consequence. The reason we need this staff is so we can find a baby dragon egg, hatch and raise it from birth so that it can fly us to Malastare. This is a world with magic, and you're telling me that this is the easiest method. I can summon shit that flies already. Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. Once we finish our PhD in dragon riding, adding another 100,000 gold to our student debt, Uma boards the dragon and lands outside Malastare's lair. Alright, this is the final dungeon for the main story, at least the first arc, which is what I intended to complete. This is the part of the game that child me so desperately wanted to complete. And this was all that was available back then. Dragonspire was the final world when I used to play. There is a lot of content beyond that. Maybe I'll do it, I'm not sure, but for now, we're just gonna get started on Malastare. Seems to be no other players around. That's probably a good thing, because the last thing I want is some level 170 wizard to join and then just one-shot the dungeon for me. So it just says to defeat Malastare, so I don't think I actually have to fight anything besides him. So if I just avoid these enemies... Oh, you're joking. Okay, I'm gonna assume that they're unavoidable. I have got my prisms, right? I don't know if I've got prisms. I should. Wait, oh my god, 4 enemies spawn at once? Okay. Fire Dragon will come in handy here, I think. They don't have an awful lot of health, do they? It's like less than 1,000, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we'll go with Fire Dragon now. I do have a few debuffs, but whatever. Oh my god, you're joking. Oh, why does this happen? I have like 91% accuracy or something. Okay, I've got another Fire Dragon in my hand. Let's just go with that. Okay, 600 damage. And they all got damage over time. They will die from the DOT. I'm just gonna heal. Let's see if I can sneak around. Or if it's gonna force me into okay, it does just force you into battle. I don't know if I should get the reshuffle spell. I've been putting it off because I keep forgetting, but it's also like 4 pips. So it's like 4 pips to reshuffle your hand is kind of like, that's expensive. Maybe it's worth it though. I mean, I'm already at Malistaire, so it is what it is. He didn't fizzle for once, thank you. There we go, easy. Oh no, that's Blizzard. That's like... Oh, this is gonna hurt. Oh, that was actually fine. What the... I forgot that ice deals terrible damage. 3,000. Nice. Fizzle, thank god. Okay, Pixie. Pixie. No, no pixies. Yikes. Get rid of the meteor strikes. I don't need them. I think even a Phoenix, like just Phoenix, should be enough. Another Fizzle. Miracle. Actual miracle. Come on, Pixie. Phoenix, go. Do not fizzle. Do not fizzle. Yes. Okay. Alright, this should be plenty of damage. 2,000. Yeah. That was overkill. Yeah, easy. Easy fight. Took barely any damage too. Easy. Fire Dragon is actually the GOAT. From a mechanical, kind of like power scaling standpoint, it has lived up to my childhood expectations. Alright, one more fight. I won't even heal for this one, but there's 4 enemies now. Should I Fireblade? No, I'm going to Dragon because Dragon will... The DOT will finish them off anyway. I don't need a blade. Fizzle. I knew that was gonna happen. I could smell it. Okay, thank god. This should kill. Easily. Easy. There we go. That's all of them.
Now for my great work, the summoning of the Dragon Titan! Stand aside, young wizard. You cannot hope to stop me.
Why did he say wizard like it was a slur? Young wizard. I'll probably start off with Fire Dragon so I can kill the Soul Servants. And then that just leaves Malistaire, which I can then single target down with a Elephant. I'm gonna add 3 of those. Wait, I already have 3 Elephants. Yeah, I'll keep 2 Phoenixes just in case. 1 Meteor. I don't really use Meteor anymore because of Fire Dragon. I can usually get enough pips that it's worth waiting for Fire Dragon. So, let's go. He doesn't have a unique boss theme? You're joking. I'm just gonna mute this and play my own music. Like, I was so excited. I thought he'd have his own boss theme and everything. Let me find... Oh, wait. I forgot the game was still running. Oh my god, these dark sprites are so scary. I'm like shitting and vomiting right now. I'm so scared. Let's just do another Fire Blade because I'll need that for my next attack anyway, even though it won't apply to the dragon. Only 1 Fire Blade will apply to the dragon, but I'll need it for my next attack anyway, which I'll use for I'll use Elephant for that. Thank you, Fire Dragon, you served your purpose. You can go back now. And Elephant will take care of the rest. I've got way too many Elephants. Which one's my strongest? This is my strong one. This is the one from my pet. It deals a lot more damage, as you can see. So I'll discard 1 and I'll pass. So this is my strong Elephant. I'm not fully buffed. I've got most of my buffs though. I've got the important ones up. Let's see how much this does. Nice. That's pretty good. If I was fully buffed, that might have killed. I'm really scared by what he might summon. I'm going to heal again. I'm like, that's a scary amount of pips. I don't know what sort of spells he has. I haven't looked at his deck. So I am gonna have to wait again to get Elephant. He keeps passing. What is he doing? Okay, what's he summoning? He used up all of his pips for an attack. Wait, this might do a lot. Yikes! I knew it! Oh my god! I called it. I knew something really scary was gonna happen. Elephant. This is it, okay. You are in kill range. You just have to not fizzle, and we win. I am nearly dead. Please. Please do not fizzle. Thank you. Oh. Elephant, my goat. This is it. Easy. Easy clap. There was no doubt. Wait, I straight up just murdered the guy. That's cold as fuck. And that's it. Wizard101 beaten, or at least the first arc. There is an ungodly amount of content in this game, and my quest log is a mess. Some mechanics I didn't even touch, like monstrology and PvP, but for now, that's it. I had some unfinished business in Grizzleheim with Jotun, but even after earning an additional 20 levels, I still couldn't beat him. He seems to cast this really strong spell that magically makes your health bar disappear. Pretty sure you're meant to fight him in a party, because he is literally harder than Malastare, so maybe another time. The game was already trying to get me to go to Celestia to do what I'm guessing is the second arc of the main quest. Right now I didn't plan to, but that wasn't to say I wasn't interested. For now, it was time to say goodbye. Uma's my new character now. I don't need Katie Raventail anymore. She's an important part of my past, but it's time to move on. Damn, that felt heavy, like seeing her vanish and shit. Jesus. I don't regret the decision. There's no lingering remnants of my childhood or anything. I've done what childhood me wanted. I got the fire dragon spell, the spell she really wanted, and I beat the game for her. And that's it. Those unfulfilled desires or regrets, whatever, from my childhood, they've been fulfilled now. Nostalgia was not the emotion I saw when I got back into Wizard101, and while I did experience it to a minor degree, I really was just here to take care of unfinished business. Beating Wizard101 wasn't possible for me as a child because of the paywall and the game getting too hard for my stupid kid brain. Adulthood gives us the opportunity and freedom to do the things we couldn't as children. Completing games you never could as a kid is just one of those things. As for the game itself, you don't need me to tell you if it's worth it or not. If you've gotten this far, you're sure to have come to your own conclusion. Play it if you want, don't play it if you don't. Deep down, I do love Wizard101, but it's full of mindless MMO busywork and predatory monetization schemes, which I can't really complain about since I indulged in them. That goes to show how scary loot boxes are, ooh! Personally, I wish the main quest wasn't as long as it was, because it just wasn't that interesting gameplay-wise for a good chunk of it. A shorter but sweeter experience would have been preferable, but this is an MMO. It's got its own quirks to try and keep players engaged for a long time. Either way, Uma's journey through Wizard101 may be complete for now, but there are more adventures to be had should the desire to find them arise. In other words, I'll play more of the game if the video does well. Bye.